All right. Thanks for listening to The Kennel, Cleveland football podcast, or watching it if you're checking us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube or check us out on Twitter or Instagram, whatever, at Football Kennel. As always, I am Gian Trotta here with Stevie James. What's up, dude?
You're always Gian Trotta, except for the times when you're not.
No, I said that. Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
Facts.
Exactly. Sometimes he's not Gian Trotta.
But
when we do some role playing. But that's different.
That's not podcast talk.
Anyways, today we are going to play the schedule game. We're going to go through the schedule, try to predict the Browns' wins and losses, and see what their record's going to be by the end of the year. Spoiler alert, it's going to be good.
I think so as well.
Or is it?
Are you surprised?
Or is it?
I mean, yes.
It might be terrible.
Tune in to find out. We might give the Browns a losing record. Anyways, as always, we're part of the ATB Sports Network. I know we've forgotten to say that a few different times, but check them out at ATB Sports Net on Twitter or ATBSports.net on their
a couple
website.
episodes ago, the last episode, we said the wrong Twitter handle. That was funny.
Yeah, it was close.
We're really good. If you want to sponsor us, we will nail.
We've been doing this
the
for a long time.
We'll nail it. Perfect.
Actually, yeah, 120 episodes.
Wow, reading and comprehension skills. So without further adu, let's get into this. Let's dive right into week 1.
Should we talk about the preseason games?
No one cares about the
Not
preseason.
prediction, but okay. We're playing the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings. I thought that was cool. We're playing our coach's old team.
I guess
the Vikings, week 3 of the preseason,
which is the most important game.
It's usually when most of the starters play like at least a half. Fun times, and then the Buccaneers to finish it out. So we played Tom Brady.
He won't play though.
He probably won't play now. Yeah,
I can guarantee he won't play.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's the preseason.
anyways, to the meat and potatoes.
The potatoes in the meat.
Yes, the regular season, and it starts off with the hated Baltimore Raptors.
Because of course it does.
In Baltimore, which, let me remind you, last year we beat Baltimore in Baltimore. We blew them out. It was like 40-25, but really it was like 50-7.
Oh, so we lost to the Titans at home week 1.
We did.
We got wrecked. Actually.
Yeah, we haven't won in week 1 for 15 years now or something crazy. We tied the Steelers a couple years ago, but we have not won on week 1 for like 15 years.
No surprise there.
But in this game, about a week or two ago, I had a dream, a very vivid dream, that the Browns won opening day.
Wow.
31-10.
Wow.
So my prediction, and let it be, I tweeted about it, and I'm saying it here. The Browns are going to win on opening day in Baltimore, 31-10. It came to me in a dream. This is not a decision that I am logically and consciously making. It's something that came to me subconsciously.
That's fair.
And if it comes true, I will probably poop my pants.
That's also fair.
Yeah.
Whatever. Remember when I went with my gut for the mock draft? So.
And how'd that work out?
We horribly.
Horribly,
so,
yeah. Well, that's
hopefully
different.
it's different for you.
Yeah, well, it came to me in a dream. So it wasn't even like it's like God spoke to me. He told me.
Okay.
He gave me a little peek into the future. I was in my living room watching it on TV. Like,
so
it was.
This year's going to be the year, son. That's what he
did.
Fair. That's whatever, dude.
Right,
I'm
cool.
with you.
Right,
Unfortunately, I'm going to disagree. I think,
So you're not with me?
No, not on this particular record.
Because you just said you're with me, so I thought like
I'm with what your logic, where your logic lies.
It's not logic. It's
or where it doesn't.
God.
I guess. Yeah. It's Jesus.
No. God.
Speaking to you. Okay, God. Okay,
Jesus.
whatever. Anyways, Browns at Ravens. I think they lose week 1, unfortunately.
Traitor.
I just it's a lot of pressure. Week 1 at Baltimore against the Ravens. The Ravens have only gotten better. I'm going to say it's going to be a close game, but we're going to lose.
Well, that sucks. You suck. So we go, 13, 14 years now without winning on opening day?
Yep, we're going to keep that trend going, unfortunately, but that's not to say the rest of the season is going to be that bad, or is it? Week 2 against the Bengals. This is a Thursday night football game.
So immediate short turnaround. We have the opener against Baltimore, and then immediately 5 days later,
Bengals.
Home opener.
Thursday night football.
But I will say the advantage we do have in this game is the Bengals are most likely going to be playing Joe Burrow, who rookie quarterback in his second start ever on the road, short week. I mean, you got to say advantage Browns.
I'm going to say advantage Browns. In fact, I'm going to give the Browns the win week 2 against the Bengals. I'm going to go with the W.
Yeah, and this is it's easy to forget, but this is kind of a revenge game because we lost to the Bengals last year in the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Was it the last game of the year? I think it was the last game of the year.
That's a good question.
We lost to the Bengals like a bunch of idiots, and it was devastating and heartbreaking.
We definitely lost to the Bengals like a bunch of idiots. Was it the last game of the season? I don't know.
It hurt me a lot, and it hurt me bad.
It was.
Yeah.
The last game. Weren't we there?
No, that was in Cincinnati.
No, we weren't in Cincinnati.
Oh, was it home?
Wait. Oh, I get what you're saying.
The game, yeah. We weren't at the game because the game was in Cincinnati.
I understand what you're saying.
Man, Baker Mayfield threw 3 interceptions in that game. What a disaster. We lost 33-23. That's just disgusting. Close that.
Nick Chubb only rushed for 41 yards.
Yeah, remember? Because Nick Chubb was leading the NFL in rushing, and we're like, oh, we just got to run some Chubb, and then we didn't, and he lost the rushing title, and then Freddie Kitchens got fired.
It's all coming back.
So, anyways, moving on. This time it's different. I think the Bengals got better in this offseason, but I think the Browns got even more betterer. So I'm going to go ahead and give us the W as well.
Cool.
So I'm 2-0.
I'm 1-1.
I don't like that.
Well, that's fair.
Following week, we get the extended break here, which is nice because we have the Thursday night game, which was rushed, but then we have the 10-day break, and it's at home, so we have back-to-back home games, so we get to play the Thursday night game, stay home for 10 days, and then play another home game, which I think is nice, gives us a big advantage going into the game against the Redskins, another team that's pretty bad and has a young quarterback, although I do like their young quarterback, Dwayne Haskins. A lot of people are sleeping on him. It's a discussion for another day, but...
Do they have anybody else?
The Redskins? Mm-hmm. No, not really. At quarterback? No, Dwayne Haskins is their guy.
You think they're for sure going to go with Dwayne?
Absolutely.
Well, that's fair.
Dwayne is the guy.
They also have Kyle Allen, and then, of course, if Alex Smith makes it back.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Alex Smith. He's, like, really trying to come back. Yeah, he had, like, a documentary that was, like, moving.
I think it was a 30 for 30, but I could be wrong.
Something like that. We'll have to watch that. We'll watch that and let you guys know if it's any good. It probably is. Alex Smith is
I watched part of it, and it seemed intense. They showed his leg a few different times.
Yeah, wasn't it all mangled up? And
yeah, it's
then he got, like, an infection and almost died or something crazy?
Oh, yeah. He was fighting for his life. He was fighting, at one point, potentially risking losing his leg, and then at another point, he was fighting for his life, yeah.
Anyways.
And the dude's trying to come back, which is even crazier.
Yeah, good for him. And he's like 37. He's like old. He was drafted the same year as Aaron Rodgers.
He's definitely up there.
He was the first overall pick the same year Aaron Rodgers was drafted.
Really?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers fell in the draft. Though.
He is 36,
pretty controversial. Yeah, it's pretty old. Anyways, we're playing the Redskins. Most likely they got Dwayne Haskins in there, who I like a lot, but the rest of the roster I think has some holes. The other player, Chase Young, their defensive front is legit. So I don't think this is going to be an easy game by any stretch. But I do think with the extended time the Browns will have off, with our roster being superior, I'm going to go ahead and give us the W.
I'm going to agree with you there, yeah. I think whether it's Dwayne Haskins or whether it's Kyle Allen offensively, I don't think they're going to be able to match our tempo. Defensively is where I'm really worried about it. I think we didn't do quite enough to get our defense up to par with what our offense is going to look like. I think our offense, we have an offensive-minded coach. We're going to build this offense to distribute the ball and be effective offensively, get over 20 points a game, which would be sick, and it's not easy to do in the NFL. But I'm not sure that I see us having an extremely strong defense. Of course, our defensive line looks really nice, but other than that, there's a lot of question marks for sure. But I still give us the win. I think we can just eke it out against the Redskins.
Yeah, the defense is young, especially going past the defensive line. We have young linebacking core, very young secondary as well. So there are some question marks there. I happen to believe that they can perform at a very high level and they're going to be great. I might be a little biased. I might be a little biased. I don't know. Who knows? But I do think Mac Wilson is the real deal, and I think Grant Delpit can be awesome too. And I do love Greedy.
Well,
and
we
Denzel,
need more than one good linebacker, so that's something.
You got Taki.
We do have Taki, who barely played last season. But yeah, maybe he can start and run the defense. Yeah,
maybe,
you're right.
Yeah, hey, maybe.
Fair. Week 4, Browns head over to the Cowboys.
Going to Jerry's World.
Going to Texas.
They're that giant 100,000 person stadium, which maybe it'll have 100,000 people in it. Maybe it'll have no people in it. It's hard to say.
I think this is a tough game because again we're going on the road and we're playing against a team and specifically a quarterback that's trying to prove a point that he can perform and that he can perform at a high level. I think the Browns just barely lose. I think a lot of these games they look like close games to me, and it's hard to say one way or the other. And it scares me to always lean to the winning side when I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to just go with a disappointing loss against the Cowboys on week 4.
Well, I got the Browns at 3-0 coming into this game, and they're rolling. They got momentum. They're kicking ass. They're the real deal. They're America's team going to play America's team. And we lose. I think I got to be, a little realistic here. I mean,
A little bit.
As much as I think they're going to go 16-0, let's try to be a little more humble than
So
that.
that puts you at 3-1, and then that puts me at
2-2
2-2.
through 4 games. So
Not bad. I'll take 2-2 through 4 games.
yeah, not the end of the world. 3-1 definitely cooler. But hey, this guy.
Not gonna argue with you.
Moving into week 5. Another home game. A lot of home games early. I like that. And we're going to be going against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are legit. They're the real deal. They bring in Phillip Rivers to complement the rest of their really young and strong roster. One of the better defenses in the NFL. They also drafted Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, one of the better running backs. I don't think he's no J.K. Dobbins, but I think he is definitely legit. And they have one of the best offensive lines in football, anchored by Quentin Nelson, arguably the best offensive lineman in football. And you bring in Phillip Rivers, we'll see what he can do, if he can have a resurgence, because last year he threw over 20 interceptions and looked a little lost on a Chargers offense that is potent. So it's not like he was devoid of weapons making mistakes. So a lot is going to be riding on his shoulders. I think having that strong offensive line and running game is going to be the catalyst of what they're trying to produce, and that big time defense. So I think ultimately it's a really tough game, but it's in Cleveland, and I think this is a game that we can win. Browns win.
Yeah, I think this is the start of a season for the Browns where home advantage really makes a difference. Last year, I think I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it felt like you couldn't really tell whether they were going to pull out the win at home or away. They didn't seem to have that home field advantage that we've know and love from just playing in Cleveland year on after year. So, but this time I think it's going to be different. I think we're going to be fired up as a fan base with the new coaching staff. We really think that this year is the year for the Browns to turn things around and have some consistency on an organizational level, and obviously from a coaching staff level. And the players already seem to really like the coaching staff and the fact that Stefanski's really driven, seems to have a plan, and the organization seems to be working with him to pull that plan together. So I think at this point, the gears are churning for the Browns, and they're doing really well, and I think they can eke out the win against the Colts at home, Week 5.
I like it. And then moving into weeks 6 and 7, we have back-to-back divisional matchups on the road. The first one being in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. The long-awaited rematch since Helmetgate.
And this time, Big Ben's back.
Big Ben is back, so it's a whole different team. It's a completely different team with Ben Roethlisberger in there. I think this defense continues to be even better. Last year, they had one of the best defenses in the NFL, and we broke down the Steelers as well as the rest of the division in pretty good detail. Was that last episode?
Last episode.
We did the division breakdown. So make sure you go back to last episode if you want to get a little more detailed. I don't know why you would want to hear more about the Steelers, but if you want to get more detailed
on it,
or the Ravens
or the Bengals.
If you want to, you can go back to the other episode. But moral of the story is I think their defense is one of the best defenses in the league last year, and I think it's going to be even better next year because some of the key people on their defense, T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, some of these guys are really young and are only going to continue to get better. So that scares me. They got Big Ben back. I think it's really, really tough to go against the Steelers in Pittsburgh if they're healthy. And I'm going to give the Browns an L in this one as much as it hurts me and pains me.
That's fair. Well, the Browns, for me, are coming off of a tough win at home against the Colts. Like you said, the Colts are a good team, and they're going to be driven by that really good offensive line. I think the Browns go into Pittsburgh fired up after some consistency starting to show both offensively and defensively, and they just get the win against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. They beat Big Ben in his first game back against the Browns, coming off of an injured year.
That would be amazing. I would like to say, side note, when we make it to the season and we actually do our week-to-week game predictions, I always go W's all the way. Well, once you really hold me to the fire, I'm like,
I know you do.
What are the Browns going to do in 2 days? Definitely win. So there's that. But it's a little easier to be subjective, objective, whatever right now when everything's far away.
I was on that train with you, I think, last year for a majority of the season, and I was probably predicting wins deep into the middle of the season, if not later. But I think near the end, I started to get more realistic on what the team actually looked like, and I started predicting some losses to your chagrin. And so I'm trying to be a little more realistic today, and I think I'm going to keep that same mindset going into the season. But who knows? I might completely change my tune as we start going week after week.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm being mostly realistic right now, but my heart, I'm guided by my heart.
There's some bias from both of us.
Moving into week 7, we got the Bengals again. We play in week 2, we play in week 7. It's kind of crazy to see an opponent twice so early in the season and not again for the rest of the year. But I think, again, that kind of plays to our favor because they have the rookie quarterback. So getting a rookie quarterback who doesn't have a lot of experience, now the double-edged sword of that is we don't have a lot of tape on him because he doesn't have a lot of reps in the NFL. That's kind of the fear of going back to week 2 where, yeah, we have a rookie quarterback on a short week playing on the road, but we only have one game of film on him and to prepare for him. I know you have the college tape, but he's running in a different system. So that does make me a little nervous. Going into Cincinnati doesn't scare me because it doesn't scare anybody. And overall, though, I do feel good about the game, and I think we're able to sweep the Bengals this year. We swept them Baker's rookie year. Last year, I don't know what the hell happened, the last game of the year. That was stupid as hell. But I think we're able to sweep them again this year big time, so I'm giving them the W.
I'm gonna go with the sweep as well. I think the Browns get it like they got it on the Baker's rookie year, like you mentioned, where they got the W both times in Cincinnati and at home against the Bengals. I'm going to give it to them again. I think the Browns get the W against the Bengals, and they're on a 2-win, 3-game winning streak on my schedule at this point.
Whoa.
Rolling.
Which is like how I started the season.
Yeah.
So we have, we'll at the bye.
We're kind of getting even.
Yeah, we'll see where we're at the bye. We got one more game before the bye week, and so we just did our back-to-back road games in the division, dealing with the rookie quarterback, dealing with Big Ben, the double-edged sword that is dealing with a rookie quarterback. You think about it, but a double-edged sword is kind of a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Anyways,
yes.
Going into week 8, we're back at home, and we're going against the, almost said Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to take some time to adjust to that. Las Vegas Raiders coming into Cleveland. I think this is a pretty good team. They got John Gruden there. For the second year in a row, they do a lot of weird things in the draft. They catch a lot of people off guard. Little rambunctious in free agency. I don't have the most faith in the Raiders as a team, although I do like John Gruden. Don't get it twisted. I just don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders as a team, and I think the Browns are able to prevail in this one. I think Browns win.
Hey, that's fair, man. I think what you mentioned earlier, though, will take a part into how the Browns will finish out this game, and I think it's going to be a tough one for them going to Las Vegas. Like you said, I almost said Oakland as well, and they lose this one.
Well, we're not going to Las Vegas, so it's at home.
Browns versus Raiders. You're right. It's at home. That doesn't change my opinion.
If the Browns go to Las Vegas, then I think we forfeit by default because we're not there for the game.
That's fair. No, I think we lose because of the 2 double division road trip games that we just played back to back. It's a tough one to maintain that consistency. Plus, they're on a 3-game winning streak in my schedule, and I don't want to get into the bias of picking them to win every time I feel like they're going to win.
Oh, so you're just giving them an L because you feel like they're due for one.
Yes.
All right. Brilliant analysis.
Thank you.
That's right. Cool. So going into the bye, you got them sitting at 5-3, which I think we would all be extremely happy with. But I think everyone would be a little happier with me because I got us at 6-2.
Happier? Yes.
So,
is it realistic? I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. We're probably going to be closer to 8 now.
Okay.
Too much? All right, too much. Cool. So going to the bye, both of us have us in a pretty good situation. I will say, I don't think 5-3 is even a far stretch. I definitely don't want to have another year of playing catch up. I don't want to be 3-5 going into the bye. No. Well, we got to put them in the tree.
But here's what's scary is I feel like we played this game last season, and looking at the first half of the season, we were like, oh, the Browns could totally be 6-1 with this.
No, I think it was backwards because the first half of the season was really tough. So we knew that...
I think it was tough as the season progressed. We started realizing that the teams we were facing were top 5 defenses week after week after week. But I'm talking about when we did the AFC North
schedule prediction,
schedule game.
We knew that the front half of the season would be difficult.
I disagree. I think
the second half
we were going
really
full
strong.
On. It's going to be super easy. We were playing the Titans. We were like, Titans sure win.
Yeah, but we had the Patriots early and other teams like that. I encourage you to pull it up, my friend.
I want to.
Because I remember
our schedule prediction, or because I
just
don't think
the Browns schedule. You can see that it was tough early in the year. There were some winnable games, of course. We thought we'd beat the Titans and the Jets.
Titans, the Jets.
Then Rams, Ravens, Niners, Seahawks, Patriots. That shit was brutal, and we knew it was going to be brutal.
49ers, you could argue you weren't 100% sure.
We were pretty sure they're going to be good.
I'm not sure.
We were pretty sure.
Seahawks for sure. Patriots for sure. Broncos, no. And we lost. Bills, no.
Well, that's when we were supposed to be rebounding, getting it together. It's painful. I don't want to look at it anymore. Put it away. put it away 31-3 against the 49ers. What a disaster that was.
I forgot.
Anyways, back to the future when everything is beautiful again. We're sitting at the bye week. You got him 5-3. I got him 6-2. And we're going into week 10. And what's nice, too, is we have a home game week 8. We have the bye week and then a home game week 10. So we got a long stretch at home, which I think is helpful. And we're going against the Houston Texans.
Ooh, rough.
Playoff team.
A rough team to have to face, whether it's at home or it's over there in Texas, to have to face the Texans coming off of a bye week. It's going to be tough. And I bet that this team is going to be rolling when it comes to this time of the year. By week 10, they're going to be in playoff mode, as most of those good teams usually are. I know they made some questionable moves in the offseason, but I think I'm going to give the Browns an L coming out of the bye week, unfortunately.
I think that... I don't think Bill O'Brien's a very good coach. I think Deshaun Watson's been able to carry them through a lot of the BS.
He is the Michael Jordan of the NFL.
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really great. But what Bill O'Brien has done in moving around things on the defense, obviously trading DeAndre Hopkins, a lot of questionable decisions. He's been trying to beef up the offensive line, so I will give him credit for that. That's obviously important. But I think this is the year the Texans take a step back, and I'm going to make the early prediction right now that Bill O'Brien gets fired at the end of this year as things do not go well. Not like disaster. I'm not saying the Texans are going to be like the worst team, but I think they're going to finish something like 6-10 or 7-9.
Haven't they made the playoffs every year he's been their coach?
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that you would think that it has to be at least a downturn from what it's been year in, year out for them? Or I would say it would need to be a complete disaster for him to lose his job.
There's always been like this weird tension, though. And him acting as the GM, I think, is a bad idea. Regardless if he gets fired or not, I do think the Texans have a down year. They're competitive. They're still a good team, but I think they have a down year. Finish 6-10, 7-9. I think the Browns get the W in this game at home.
The W.
The W.
The W.
George W. Go Browns.
Well, I'm going with a loss, which is tough because they lost to the Raiders going into a bye week, then they lose to the Texans. So it's looking like a downturn for the Browns when we need to start seeing a turnaround or a turning up.
And this would be during a home stretch. Week 8, we're at home against the Raiders. Then we have the bye week, so obviously we're home. We're at home against the Texans week 10. Then moving into week 11, still at home against the Eagles. So we're home in Cleveland for about a month straight, which I think is really good for a young team to have, especially a young team that, with everything going on, didn't have as much of a together in-person type of training camp that we would have normally had with a rookie head coach. So even if we do struggle early in the season, this is a stretch that should really help the team improve and come together. Obviously, neither of us have us struggling early in the season, but I do think this is a really important stretch for the Browns. And going against the Eagles, another really strong team. And it's kind of funny doing the Texans and Eagles back-to-back because we could have drafted Deshaun Watson but traded out. Could have drafted Carson Wentz but traded out. So we're going against those two quarterbacks. So it's kind of like, did the Sashi experiment work? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like a head-to-head thing. But when it comes to the Eagles, I'm going to say no. We take the L. I'm not saying the experiment didn't work. I love Baker. I'll take Baker over Carson Wentz. But I do think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback when he's able to finish a season. And I think the Eagles team is loaded, especially on offense. They have a lot of talent on defense. Even though it is at home, I just think it's a really, really tough matchup. They got a lot of veterans on their team. They're not afraid to play on the road, and I do think we ultimately take the L here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think on my end, I'm seeing the Browns going through a rough stretch right here these past few weeks, leading into the bye week, and then 2 weeks out of the bye week, I think we lose against the Eagles as well. And the Browns, in my schedule prediction, are in a 3-game losing streak. It's a rough stretch of games for the Browns. Man,
and like all home games too. You got us losing 3 in a row at home.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You have watched the Browns, so you know that these things are very possible. But I don't think it's going to happen that way, but it could.
That's how I'm seeing it in my head.
Moving into week 12.
God spoke to me.
Copycat. What? He spoke to me first.
That's fair.
Going into week 12, Browns are going to be traveling to Jacksonville, get some nice weather, and go against arguably what should be the worst team in the NFL, at least one of the worst teams in the NFL next year. And we get to go to Jacksonville and face them. Gardner Minshew is who they're resting that's who they're going with. And they don't have a lot of playmakers on offense. Their defense has been completely drained from a few years ago when they had that great defense and made the playoffs and went all the way to the AFC Championship game. Whole different unit now.
They do have Joe Schobert, so you got to remember that this is the Joe Schobert revenge game. It's not just...
Oh, yeah, that's right. They do have Joe Schobert. Weird.
Yeah,
That's going to be weird.
This isn't just against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is just a Joe Schobert revenge game.
Yeah, so he's probably going to want to really show out, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think the Jaguars are very good, and I think we take the W.
I'm gonna have to agree with you, but I'm not. I don't think it's a for sure given. I think this is gonna be a tough game. I think this Jacksonville team is gonna be rallying against a defensive player that shows leadership and showed leadership here in Cleveland, and I think he'll do the same thing in Jacksonville. But I don't think that's going to be enough of the difference maker to win the game. Like you said, they're resting their hands on now a second-year quarterback, but really a rookie quarterback that ended up getting benched halfway through the year because he really wasn't performing that well anyways. So it doesn't think that this coaching staff, it doesn't seem like this coaching staff really has the faith that they quote-unquote say they do on him. So we'll see how it turns out, but I'm going to give the Browns a W after the 3-game losing streak. So they rally and they come back and they beat the Jags.
I love it. Big game.
Moving on to Week 13, and this could be a revenge game for the Browns, honestly, because we're going down to Tennessee and we're facing the Titans. And I do think it's going to be a big revenge game for the Browns. I don't think that the NFL teams go in week in and week out thinking, well, like they beat us last year, they upset us last year, beat us dramatically in the home opener. We got to come in and we got to knock their socks off and really nail it home here. But at the same time, I do think with a player like Baker, he's going to remember Tennessee coming into Cleveland. Them thinking.
Wait, you're saying Baker's going to remember the Titans?
He's going to remember the Titans. He's going to remember the fact that they thought they were going to be better than they were. And they didn't really put the work to get there. And I think this is going to be a big flashback game for him where he's going to want to prove that he put in the work and that he is making a difference as a leader in this team. And I'm going to go ahead and just from my gut say that Baker's going to have like an over 300-yard passing game with like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and we're going to get the W against the Titans.
I love it. Against a really strong defense, too. But I do agree with you. The normal NFL player isn't really thinking about that stuff year to year. But we all know that Baker's kind of cut from a different cloth. And while I think this offseason and moving forward, he has been humbled, and he's not going to be speaking out like he has in the past, kind of putting his foot in his mouth and setting him up for all that extra criticism. I do, because he even said this himself, that he's kind of been humbled. So I don't think like leading into that game there's going to be any extra trash talking. I do see a situation where Baker puts his head down. He may say something along the lines of, they blew us out week 1 and that sucked. Like, I don't want that to ever happen again. So he may say, but I don't think we're going to get any trash talking from him. But I think inside his mind, and inside that locker room,
he's going to be ready to rumble.
He's going to be ready to rip. So I'm going to give him a W as well.
Cool. Week 14. We're going to face the Ravens, this time at home, Monday Night Football.
Big time. This should be a huge game. I'm thinking the Browns and Ravens are competing for the AFC North right now, and Monday Night Football late in the season is I'm already like, I'm sweating. I'm sweating thinking about it right now.
I think after the Browns lose week 1 in Baltimore, they're going to come back Monday Night Football under the bright lights at home, and they're going to get the W against the Ravens, kind of getting that revenge game, and they're going to split another year with the Ravens.
I have these crazy mofos sweeping the Ravens. I have them winning again.
I'm just noticing that now.
I had them winning week 1. I wouldn't have predicted the week 1 win had I not been told in a dream.
That's fair.
That they were going to win 31-10, and even in my
Can't question the dream.
Even in my dream, I was like, "What? That's impossible." No, I'm just kidding. In the dream, it felt very real, so I had to give it to him. But I think here at home on Monday Night Football, we don't have a lot of primetime games this year, which I think is a good thing. But after all the time spent at home, going through all these games, the growth with Kevin Stefanski, keeping our dudes chill, I just think this is a game that we're able to finally. Like, to me, it's such a big game because we both have the Browns with a pretty good record at this point in the season. Mine better than yours, but still competing for the playoffs. And if this is a game where we can go on Monday Night Football and we can win against a really good Ravens team, a divisional opponent, maybe we're tied roughly for the AFC North, and like that win puts us like on top of the AFC North. Like, it could just be such a massive statement game and momentum builder. There'd be 3 games in the season after that one. Just a huge momentum builder to roll through the rest of the season and lead into the playoffs. Like, dude, it could just be so huge. And as a Browns fan, we really enjoy, thinking about hope and hype and all that. So like the hope I have leading into that game game is it should be a huge game that has massive playoff implications, and everybody's watching, and we win, and it's amazing.
Well, my mindset is very similar in the sense that the Browns showed in the middle of the week some struggles. They overcame some adversity by going through that losing streak at home, multiple games at home where they lost.
So the media's kind of doubting.
The media's kind of doubting. They're throwing their shade. They go on to Jacksonville. They get their first win. They go to Tennessee.
But everyone's like, oh, Jacksonville sucks. Who cares?
They go to Tennessee. They get another win.
And it's a little impressive.
Rallying the troops. The consistency starting to set in. The team is starting to realize through the level head of Kevin Stefanski that, hey, like the better teams turn around during this time of year. We can turn around, really flip the switch, and make a trip to the playoffs happen. No problem. They get the win against the Titans. They go Monday Night Football against the Ravens, get the W again, and now we're really rolling. And like you said, getting a statement win into trying to make it into the playoffs.
Either scenario is great. Either scenario. In my scenario, we have a really good record, but are the Browns for real? So they make the statement to prove that they're for real. In your scenario, we've lost a few games. We're hovering around 500. Can they make a run for the playoffs and get that win? So both scenarios sound amazing.
Yeah, I would have a lot of fun if this was happening. And then we go into Week 15 and we go to the Giants.
Into New York. So this is part of back-to-back games in MetLife Stadium, one against the Giants, one against the Jets, which is kind of weird how the schedule makers did that. So I don't know, maybe we'll stay in New York City, who knows. But
that is weird. It
is weird. And you got to remember Odell Beckham, so he gets to be in MetLife Stadium two games in a row. This one against his former team. And as you said about Joe Schobert and Jacksonville, I just have a really strong feeling there's going to be tons of hype, especially if we're coming off a Monday night win against the Ravens. We have the short week. There's going to be so much hype going into Odell Beckham going against the Giants. Are the Browns the Browns are, according to our imaginary scenarios, pretty legit now. So what are they going to do in New York, the media capital of the world, Odell's former team, against the Giants with Saquon and Daniel Jones, and what's going to happen there? So I think it's a big matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants have a decent record, that this game would get flexed to more of a primetime spot, like at least like a 4 p.m. spot or something like that.
They didn't have it marked as a potential flex.
I think all the games towards the end of the year are kind of like
up in the air. Okay.
Yeah. So
because I know the Jets, they specifically marked it with a little asterisk.
Yeah, 26th or 27th or whatever.
December 26th or December 27th. So.
Weird. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Usually don't see that, but I don't know. Moral of the story is I think it's going to be a big game. I think the Giants aren't going to be that terrible this year. I think,
and it's definitely going to be a revenge game for Beckham.
It's going to be big. It's going to be big for Beckham.
It's the second time we play at MetLife because we played the Jets 2019 with Beckham, but this is the first year that he's quote unquote back to full health, and hopefully at this point in the season he's still at full health and
going against his former team.
Again, like you said, at MetLife Stadium. I think that's a big revenge game. I'm going to give him the W, man. I think we're on a roll, and we're trying to get on that hype train to the playoffs, baby.
I'm giving him a W, too. To me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's if you can beat the Ravens on Monday night, like you're cruising into New York and you're kicking ass. That's just how I feel about it. And I think, again, you've mentioned the level head of Kevin Stefanski. I don't think like winning and success would go to our players' heads like it would in like a Freddie Kitchens era or a Hugh Jackson era if he was even able to win a game or let alone multiple in a row. But I think Kevin Stefanski is going to keep it chill. Chill as a cucumber.
That's his motto.
Work.
That's what he says.
Does he say chill as a cucumber?
No.
But it's funny because in SpongeBob, isn't Kevin a cucumber, the jellyfishing guy? I think he is. I'm pretty sure it's funny. It's pretty funny.
We're here to talk about the Browns.
Anyways,
I didn't bring my SpongeBob trivia.
Well, shame on you, sir. I'll have you know that on our Twitter we use an ignorant amount of SpongeBob gifs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We do? No way. What? Talking about the Browns again? Anyways, moving on. Week 16, Browns at Jets, still in MetLife Stadium. And it's weird. We've been playing the Jets like almost every year for a few years now.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of feels like a rivalry because of the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold thing. And against the Jets was Baker Mayfield's coming out game.
And we had the Cleveland special.
Yep. And we've beaten him 2 years in a row. So this is our third year playing him. And I think this is another game where the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold saga continues. Everyone in the media, mainstream media, acts like Sam Darnold's better than Baker Mayfield, even though there is zero evidence to support that whatsoever.
Keep in mind, Sam Darnold didn't lose against us 2 years in a row. He wasn't playing week 2 for the Jets. He was hurt.
He didn't play?
He had mono.
Oh, that what, last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year he didn't play.
His rookie year,
The previous year he did, yeah.
Did he?
I think so.
Now I'm kind of double thinking it.
Moral of the story is
either way.
Baker is better than Sam Darnold, and this is yet another opportunity for Baker to prove that. And I think this is a game. We go to New York 2 weeks in a row, and I think we knock out both their teams.
I think so too.
Beating New York. So I'm giving the W. You're giving
Sam
the W.
Darnold did play. He threw for 169 yards and 2 interceptions.
That was a couple years ago. Baker's coming out game. Yeah, Baker's coming out game.
Baker's coming out game. Yeah,
that's right. Baker is better than Sam Darnold. Don't forget it. I do think Sam Darnold's good though. I do like Sam Darnold, but Baker's definitely better. So that takes us to the last game of the year, and of course, like so many other years, we have to play the Steelers. At least it's at home, so I appreciate that. But I think finally, for the first time, this is a situation where the Steelers aren't. So many games, last game of the year, the Steelers rest their starters and we still lose because it's so dumb. Like when we went 0-16, they rested their starters and we still lost. So
yeah, that was rough.
So terrible. God. I think finally we're turning that page. Going into Week 17, you have the Browns sitting at 10-5. So you got to think, I mean, especially with the 7th team making the playoffs, like you got to think we're a lock for the playoffs.
We're a lock, or we're potentially fighting for one of the last few spots.
Maybe it's with the Steelers. Maybe they're 10-5 too. Could you imagine Steelers versus Browns with playoff implications on the line? Winner goes to the playoffs.
The city of Cleveland will be set on fire.
That game would be literally completely sold out.
Just to rewind really quick on our talking the Jets, it all came back to me as I looked at the stats. That game against the Jets, Sam Darnold was out with mono
last year.
We played against Trevor Siemian. Myles Garrett broke his leg.
That's right.
Luke Falk had to come in.
Yeah, and he didn't play terribly for a third stringer, but they did only score 3 points, and we kicked their ass, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
That was good times.
Anyways. Back to the Steelers. Finishing the season off. The most important game of the season. With potential playoff
Yeah, you have them on 10-5, so this could be a game where Browns versus Steelers, winner goes to the playoffs, loser stays home, which would be crazy. For me, I have us in this game sitting at 12-3. So we're definitely in the playoffs.
That is wild.
Maybe we're even competing for the top spot in the AFC. Maybe a first-round bye. Could you imagine a first-round bye and then a home game, a home playoff game? Just in general, a home playoff game. Could you imagine that?
Hard too.
If that happened and like we're not supposed to go in the stadium or whatever, they're still playing without fans.
Do you think that's actually going to happen?
No.
Okay, me neither.
Nah, I think it's crazy.
I don't think it's going to happen.
But even if it was, if the Browns host a playoff game, you are not keeping anybody out of there.
No.
We're in there, man.
No,
are you kidding
we're breaking
me?
Through the gates.
Holy shit, that would be. Oh my God! Again, I'm just sweating. I'm just sweating like crazy just thinking about that.
So this is pretty obvious.
The Browns hosting a playoff game. So if you haven't caught on, we're beating the Steelers.
Playoff implications. I'm gonna give them the W. I think the Browns finish out the season 11-5.
Nice. So you have the Browns sweeping the Steelers because you had them beating them in Week 6.
I do have the Browns sweeping the Steelers, sweeping the Bengals, and then going 1-1 against the Ravens.
I have us sweeping. No, I had us losing to the Steelers. So I have us going 5-1 in the division, sweeping the Ravens, sweeping the Bengals, and going 1-1 against the Steelers, and finishing with a record of 13-3. Which I know 13-3 sounds ridiculous because it is. But the Ravens went 13-3 last year, and I'm not like looking at their roster compared to our roster right now. We have all the talent you could need to go 13-3. All the talent is there. But will it be put together? And it's football.
And the Ravens organizationally have been good for years. They have structure up and down. Super important. Consistency year in, year out. All those things matter. As long as as much as we like to pretend they don't, all of those things matter in the NFL.
Yeah, so I'm told. I've never seen it, so I have no idea.
Literally.
But moral of the story is, I think 11-5 is more realistic. I think 13-3 is possible. I don't care what anybody says. I think that crap's possible.
It's all possible.
I feel like a lot of people, a lot of Cleveland fans right now are kind of like a dog with his tail between his legs, and everyone is afraid to make like a hyped prediction because last year everyone was making hyped predictions.
Sure.
And then obviously everything fell apart. So I'm seeing all these predictions
like win the Super Bowl.
Well, 8-8, or if we could get 9-7, that'd be really great. And it's like, that's so, I'm not.
People don't want to be let down, bro. Come on.
I get that, but I'm a Browns. I've been let down every year since I was born. And
yeah, but I think it's different. People really like Baker Mayfield. People really like the team we've assembled. The fact that we actually have stars. Beckham, for example.
I think 9-7. I think 9-7 would be a big disappointment. Okay, if we went 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs, that's disappointing.
First year head coach.
That's disappointing. With the talent we have,
I guess, yeah.
I'd be
that's
disappointed.
true.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go 9-7, sure, but like, if we don't make the playoffs, like my expectation is playoffs. Like that's the expectation, period. I get that we have a rookie head coach, whatever, blah, blah, blah. My expectation is 100% playoffs. And anything less than playoffs, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be like super pissed and cry or whatever. Like I'll take 9-7, no playoffs, or 8-8, no playoffs over everything that's happened in the past. 6-10 last year, 2-14 the year before that. Competent football, I think, is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, but I think we've had a few years now of middle of the road.
Yeah, we went 7-8-1, and we went 6-10. How about we break through and we get like a nice, like you said, 11-5.
Yeah.
Or 13-3.
It's time.
Like I'm done with it. So I'm fully in the camp that if we don't make the playoffs, I'm disappointed. I'm
Hey,
disappointed.
well, that's fair, man.
What about you?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. I would be disappointed if we didn't make the playoffs. I think enough rookie head coaches this day and age have shown that it's totally possible. When you walk into a team with the amount of talent that we have, the fact that you already have a quarterback that's talented and can make all the NFL passes, you have a number one receiver in Odell Beckham Jr., you have depth behind him, you have Jarvis Landry, you have Myles Garrett defensively. Obviously, there's a lot of potential, although young potential on our defensive side, but it's there. And obviously Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, the amount of tight ends we have now with David Njoku, with Austin Hooper.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
Nice. And this rookie guy who might have an impact, might not, whatever. Either way, like I said, the team is assembled around the coach. Now, can the coach come in, make the difference that he needs to, and put us over the edge to finally fight for a playoff spot? I think it's definitely realistic to say that this year, even though it's a first-year head coach and A, B, C, D, all those reasons that we normally use as excuses to kind of say, well, if they win 9 games, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm not going with that. And you got to think too, most of the time rookie head coaches are inheriting bad rosters. That's why like the head coaching position is even available, is because the roster sucked, the coach sucked, that the team was bad. They need a new head coach. They're rebuilding. So most rookie head coaches are walking into a situation like that. That's not the case with the Browns. This roster is built. Like it's built to win now. Like yeah, it's built to go into the future, whatever, but having Miles on a rookie contract, Baker on a rookie contract, all the moves made in the offseason tell me that we're not sitting here to be conservative. We brought in the highest paid tight end, brought in a bunch of depth for the defensive line, brought in the top rated free agent offensive lineman and paid him well, drafted another piece on the offensive line. All the moves we've made don't tell me that we're satisfied with going 8-8 this year, or we're still building this year. Next year we're really gonna get them. Like that's ridiculous. So I think the organization has the expectation to go to the playoffs and compete in the playoffs, and I think the players have that expectation too. This is gonna be Baker Mayfield's 3rd year, like his 3rd year in the league. Like it's time for him to get to the playoffs. I think that's fair. I mean, last year was Patrick Mahomes' 3rd year in the league, and what'd he do? Win the freaking Super Bowl. So I think this is a massive year for Baker Mayfield. And that's going to be the driving force of all of this. If Baker Mayfield has the year that I think it can have, and the offensive line paves the way for Nick Chubb the way that I think it can, I think this offense can be dynamite. I think you'll have a healthy Landry and a healthy OBJ with an offensive-minded head coach that's able to get them into the right positions, and Baker will have the time to throw to them. And I think we're going to have a defense that's going to take steps forward from what it did last year. So all of these things, I think, come together to where the Browns can really compete. And I would say my floor expectation is the record prediction that you had, 11-5. Like that's like my floor. I think 11-5 is my expectation. 13-3 is, I think, the ceiling of what we can go. And I think we're going to the playoffs, and we're going to compete to win the AFC North.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
So I think those are our final thoughts.
That's fair. Why don't you tweet at us at Football Kennel and you give us your way too early schedule game prediction for the Cleveland Browns?
That would be lovely.
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
If you have some time, maybe you subscribe to the podcast.
Or if you're on YouTube, comment below.
Oh, yeah. If you're on YouTube, comment below what you think the Cleveland Browns schedule prediction is. You play the schedule game. Follow along with us.
And make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers. We're up to 64 now. So we're getting pretty close.
We're getting there.
Getting pretty close. So
listen to the podcast. If you like podcast form, we're on there. We're on all your favorite podcast apps.
Links below.
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because that's the one that matters the most, for whatever reason. And follow us on social media at Football Kennel, Twitter, Instagram, part of the ATV Sports Network.
All the stuff. Facebook, whatever the hell. You get it. Moral of the story, Browns, Super Bowl. Confirmed.
The Kennel, Cleveland.
The Kennel will be there. Cleveland, go Browns.
Go Browns.